deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fish and Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Vaughn Warnke. Man, am I excited that you have joined us today. I'm so excited to offer this show to you, as I am every show. And I've got a great guest lined up this week, Mr. Blake Marshall. He is a heck of a guy. I really think you'll like him. He's been on the show before, about a year or so ago, I think we talked about. Just a great guest. He's a guide and outfitter for King of Eights Outfitters, which is a hunting service out in kind of northwest central Texas, going towards Abilene in a town called Ballinger. And anyway, he puts on some great exotic hunts. We're going to talk about that. He puts on some great whitetail hunts, turkey hunts, all kinds of different hunts, and great guy to get to know. And he's very active on social media, so I love following this guy. I love catching up with him. He's just a great guy to get to know, and so I think you'll really enjoy this. So this podcast should be coming out around the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. Merry Christmas. Belated Merry Christmas to you guys. I forgot to mention that in my last podcast with Chester. But anyway, this is going to be a great show, and really appreciate you guys watching, reading, and listening. Please subscribe to the show if you've not done so already. It is free to do so, and it does not cost a thing, and it is really, really cool to get to know you guys. Feel free to connect with me on social media. My website's dustinsprojects.com, or you can email me through the Fish and Game website, fishgame.com, because I do both. And just really, really look forward to connecting with you guys on social media and elsewhere. Here's my interview with Mr. Blake Marshall. Joining me on the phone is Mr. Blake Marshall from King of Eights Outfitters. How are you doing today, Blake?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
Better than I deserve, man. Welcome back to the Best of the Outdoors. Second time on the show. Had you on last year. Forget when it was last year. Was it in the fall? I think it was.
Yeah, it was in the fall, right before. I know it was right before duck season.
Duck season. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you told us in the last podcast a little bit about King of Eights, how the name got started and everything like that. You've been full-time outfitting pretty much for the last couple of years, and I love you because you're a Georgia boy transplanted in Texas, and you picked right up on our way of hunting, and you're awesome, man. So hats off to you, man.
I appreciate it big time. I couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of good people. You being one of them. You reached out to me early on in my in what is now my career,
right?
And you helped me catapult to the next level, and I've got a lot of people to thank, and I'm grateful for that. But no, I appreciate it, man. I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as fast as I could.
I knew you were going to say that. That's awesome, man. So in this show, I wanted to kind of download, I guess, the idea of hunting for exotics, especially as we approach the off season. We're recording this episode Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to everybody. It'll be a little belated by the time this show comes out. But, we're approaching that off season time after the special antlerist and spike season in Texas, and exotics are full game year round. There's no limit. There's no license, especially that you have to have besides just a regular hunting license. You can hunt them free range, but a lot of people choose to go to a hunting ranch like DB Hunting Ranch that I work for, or King of Eights like you that outfits for a number of ranches. Give us a rundown, Blake.
Yeah, as far as exotic hunting goes, first of all, to touch on what you said, you can do it year round.
Right.
So number one, it extends our season. It extends a lot of people don't have the time during, the peak parts of whitetail season.
Sure.
Which being Thanksgiving, Christmas, stuff like that. They're doing stuff. They're busy. So having exotics to be able to hunt year round is not only vital for, for our well-being, for the outfitters' well-being, ranchers' well-being, the animals' well-being. And I know a lot of people are like, what do you mean? The prolonged existence of animals depends on hunting and hunters. Absolutely. Without the hunters and without the ranchers and without outfitters, and I'll touch back on that a little bit more as far as outfitters go. But without the hunters coming to hunt the exotics and other game, they would cease to exist.
Right.
And I'm not talking about poaching. I'm not talking about, that's not hunters. That's not what we're talking about. When I'm talking about hunters, I'm talking about good men and women ethical hunters who follow the game laws, who follow the rules, who follow the regulations, who pay for their licensing. And of course, when you get into it like we do, you are going to take mature animals. Every now and then when you take, an immature animal by mistake or for a kid or something like that.
Right.
Yes, that's a whole different scenario. But 99.99% of the time, we take mature animals. And if you're doing that, you are growing and sustaining a herd and for its longevity and taking and harvesting animals at the proper time. Now, your main thing was, your main question was, exotics in general. There's pros and cons to everything.
Sure.
And, a lot of people's argument is, well, geez Louise, those things are expensive, this, that, and the other. You can go to Africa and do this or that. You can go to Africa. I hear it all the time.
Right. We talked about that last night in the pre-chat. Yeah.
Absolutely. And can you go to Africa and take, go on a hunt and take a Gemsbok or something for, let's say, $1,500 or so? I'm just giving a ballpark figure. I know basically what the prices are. Yes, you can. Also add into it your flight. Round trip there and back, you're going to spend about $2,000, thereabouts. Also take into account that you will not get your meat back.
True.
You will eat some of it while you're there, and it will go to feed the families.
Right, the villagers and stuff like that. For sure, we talked about that. For
sure.
Yeah.
There are pros. The thing about it is you don't go to Africa for the price. You go to Africa for the experience.
Yes.
And I love Africa. Africa's awesome. If people want to go to Africa, let's go to Africa. At the same time, a lot of people do not have that luxury, and we haven't even included taxidermy, getting it back over.
Yeah.
But, I think that here's another thing. I think as hunters, I get tired of seeing the bashing all the time. I mean, I don't even comment anymore.
Sure.
Because instead of all of us lifting each other up, this hunter's tearing this hunter down for the way he does something, the way she does something. If you're following the rules and regulations and laws, then stay out of their way. Or if you don't have anything good to say to those people, we as hunters need to stick together as much as possible, because I can assure you there's people that want to do away with us completely.
I talk about that. Yeah.
They put us all into the same category, and they love it that we get it at odds. So
we've talked about that a lot on this show, though, Blake. Not to interrupt you, but I just wanted to say, Mac and Prowler, who I had on a couple of 4 shows ago or so, they said if we just let hunters at themselves, the whole industry will fall, because we have so much division within us. And I agree to a point, but I agree more to your point about we need to stick together as a group, because our numbers are diminishing, and I say that just about every show, that we, getting youth involved, conservation, those kind of things are key points when it comes to all this stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Excuse me, absolutely. And, I don't necessarily agree or disagree with a lot of people. I listen to everybody, though.
Sure. You're open-minded. That's what I've always liked about you.
Yeah, and I think, I think other people should try to do the same, at least get educated. But I guess that's what we're trying to do right now.
Right.
Is hope to educate some people that may not know. And that's one of the problems, that people they don't necessarily know. And do I know everything? Am I an expert on every matter? No, I'm not. But I do this for a living every single day of my life, and I learn more and more and more, and I'm always open to people who know more than me.
Sure.
My granddaddy used to say, learn all you can while you can.
Right. That's a good saying.
That means every single day.
Well, and back to your point about Africa hunting versus hunting exotics in Texas, you have your flight, you have your lodging, you got your guide tips, you've got your taxidermy, all that other stuff. One hunter told me that recently took a trip to Africa that it's a hunt of a lifetime, because it takes a lifetime of earnings to pay for getting the taxidermy back, So, but, I've never been. I understand once you go, it's you get it in your heart and everything, but man, do I love hunting those same African animals here in the States. Especially in Texas, we have high fences and we have exotic populations. But to your point about the conservation, to your point about do animals have value without hunters? I've talked about this with Tim Jackson from GarQuest, and I've talked about this with other hunters on the show as well. You know, if that animal does not have a value on it with a hunter, a lot of times they don't have value at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I know exactly what you're saying.
So that's what I'm a big champion of exotics in Texas, and a lot of times I know they're a nuisance. You've got axis that are overrunning whitetail herds. I hear you've got feral hogs, obviously, which are considered an exotic in a lot of places. But you know, our black buck herds getting involved with whitetail herds. Again, we're talking mainly about hiring a guide or an outfitter to hunt them. But I think it is a diverse landscape we have in the state. I really do.
I do too. And not only that, I've talked to several Africanos, as I like to call them, that have come over here. They come over here because they love us. They want to see how we do things, and they also want us to come over there when the time arises.
Right.
They'll come hunt with me, and vice versa. And I have literally had this happen. I wish I was recording it, but they're like, they're taking pictures, and they're like, I don't even know why I'm taking pictures there because nobody's going to believe that I left.
That's good. That's
so
good.
Like I said just a minute ago, you don't go to Africa you go to Africa for the experience.
Right.
Period. And if you want the same animals, and really the same experience. A lot of people don't know this too. We can hit on this a lot. A lot of Africa is high fenced.
Yes, it is, especially the southern part of the continent. Yes.
That's another thing that I love when people are like, you go to Africa and you go, you're in the wild, you're on this wild safari. It's like, oh really? Okay, cool.
It's all high fence.
It's also high fence, my friend.
Yeah.
And when it comes to exotics, it doesn't matter whether it is or whether it isn't. I know, and the thing is that a lot of people, when they refer to high fence, they're referring to a high fence feed pen.
Right, and we talked about that on our last show, which is different than what you and I do for hunting, which is in a high fence pasture or hunting preserve, if you want to call it. I guess the left would call it something like that. Right. There's a difference.
A lot of the places that I hunt, they don't even have feeders. You have to go out there and sure enough find the game.
Safari style spot and stalk, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's good. I just like to bring up, because Chester and I hit it big time on the last podcast, if anybody listened to that one, about, there's two things that keep a whitetail hunter from killing a trophy whitetail, and that's one, the price, and two, the agreement to hunt something behind a high fence. That's really it. And I don't have a problem with that, but I understand a lot of people do, and it's a controversial topic, which is why I like to bring it up on this podcast. Because, without high fences, and I said this on the last show, we don't have exotics like we do in Texas. They'd all jump and get out, and they'd all run wild, and nobody would keep them on their ranch because nobody could keep them on their ranch.
That is 100% correct.
So, that just goes back to what to look for, in that regard for a hunt. Now, I'm going to get on my rant box, and I told you this before we started the show, Blake. The one thing, we're going to talk briefly about hiring a guide or an outfitter for an exotic hunt, since you're a guide and an outfitter, Blake. One of the things that grinds my gears, if you will, or really gets on my nerves, my pet peeve, if you will, because I sell hunts on the side for DB Hunting Ranch and a couple of other places. They all want pictures, dude. They all want, you got any pictures of that Sika? Got any pictures of that black buck? Got any pictures of that buffalo? I'm like, there's no imagination in getting pictures of everything. And I know I'm going to tick some people off because Texas Hunting Forum's bad about this. Facebook's bad about this. And I know that's where I advertise this show. But, leave a little bit up to the imagination. Do you agree with me, Blake?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I have a good reputation. If you have a good reputation, that means that so many people have been coming and hunting with you. I mean, I don't have 5 or 10. I have thousands of people that have given me recommendations.
Sure,
because they come with me and trusted me to do what I said I'm going to do. Now, can I give people an idea of what they're going to get out there? Yes. Might we get on that animal? Yes, we very well could. But I'm not going to send somebody pictures of a specific animal, get their hopes and expectations up, and then not deliver on that specific animal. That's not.
Yeah.
And if somebody does that, you are hunting a pin.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree you are, but I mean, you're speaking right to my point, because I'm like, if I show you, I sold a water buffalo hunt a while back, a trophy one, to some guys that were very wealthy railroad guys, and I sold this on a ranch one time, and this is back in like 2013, 2014, and I literally would send pictures representative of the bulls that they would shoot, but they wanted to actually pick the one out on the left that they wanted to buy to shoot. And I'm like, that's not hunting, guys. That's grocery shopping. But again,
right.
I know I'm going to take some people off. I just think that is not hunting.
Tick them off. I tick people off all the time.
I know, that's true. We both do. So.
Listen, I get death threats from PETA. And I also get, I get stuff from hunters all the time, quote unquote hunters, or whatever you want to call yourself.
Sure.
You're going to piss people off.
Yeah.
People are either going to like you or they're not. And they're gonna think what they want to think when they want to think it. It's not up to me to try to please them. It's up to me to do what I know I need to do and stay the course. If I'm, like I said, if you're doing the right thing and you're not breaking the laws and you're following the rules and regulations set up by Texas Parks and Wildlife and Texas Fish and Game, then by all means do it. And do I see the people's point? My clients' point to an extent. Yes, I do.
Sure.
And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a picture or video, several pictures and videos and stuff of the herd, of the entire, or the majority of it, and show you this is what we're going to hunt.
Sure.
But am I going to pick out a bull for you? No, because guess what? I have told people shoot the one on the left, and guess which one they shoot?
Yeah, the one on the right.
On the right.
Yeah. I knew where you were going with that one.
I'm also not going to do it. And guess whose fault it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's always my fault. Well, I thought you said the one. No, I said the one on the left, but it doesn't matter.
Other left.
Yeah. But I just know I'm not going to do that. And if as an outfitter you choose to do that, then by all means, my friend, do it. Or as a rancher or guide or whatever. But I've been doing this too long. First of all, I don't have the time for that either.
Right.
I'm always doing something. I'm always feeding, doing, checking cameras. Do I have cameras out? Yes, but I only have them out during a certain time of year.
Sure.
Can I go out to every single ranch that I'm at any given moment? No, because I'm preparing for the next hunt and preparing for the next hunt and preparing for the next hunt. I have a very high success rate doing it the way I do it, and I always put people on what they came to. And if I don't on that trip, I make good on it.
Right. No, and that's a sign of a good guide, and that's why I wanted to have you back on the show, because those are some things to look for when you're hiring a guide. Testimonials, what they're saying on Texas Hunting Forum, what they're saying on Facebook, what they're saying, and this is just any guide or outfit. If you're hunting free range, and free range mule deer, in West Texas, if you're hunting, high fence exotics in Central Texas or wherever, you're kind of in Northwest Central Texas in Ballinger area, and I just think it's vitally important. I mean, what are some other tips you'd say for looking for a quality guide or outfitter, Blake?
Get to know him.
Okay,
before
good.
they come to work for you, or her, but before they come to work for you, spend some time with them on the phone and talk with them. Ask them just brass tacks questions. See where their heart's at. Because a lot of people try to get into this thing. Everybody wants to be an outfitter till it's time to do outfitter stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
Everybody wants to be a guide till it's time to do guide stuff.
It's not glorious at all when you come down to the brass
thinks they
tacks.
can manage their own website until it's time to manage their own website and do tech guide stuff, and that's why I have you.
That's right.
I can't do what you can do.
Yeah.
And if I could, I don't have time for it.
Right.
But as far as guides go, a lot of times it's a coin toss anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I do what I do because I love it, not because I'm trying to be famous, not because I'm trying to get rich by any stretch of the imagination, and not because I'm in it for the right reasons. So when it comes time to have a guide come on with your outfit or your ranch or whatever, You need to get to know them, invite them over. You know, if they live out of state, I understand that, but have some FaceTime with them. You know, Skype with them. Have several phone calls with them. Don't just read a resume and call some, references and then take that as good. Because I've gone through a couple guides. I've had them come in and out. About as quick as they come in, they leave. Not because my outfit's successful. It's because they didn't realize how much work was involved.
Right. That's true. I mean, that's a lot of, and when I said about, in the last podcast I did, gosh, this has been probably a year and a half ago, I did a solo podcast called The Top 10 Things to Look For in Your Next Outfit or a Guide. And I wrote an article about that at fishgame.com. If anyone wants to look it up, the podcast is in the article. But basically, I talked about you either have the heart of a teacher as a guide or you have a heart of a salesman. Yep. And the heart of the salesman guys are flash in the pan. They don't stay around long because people pick up on that. You know what I'm saying? Only the good survive. So if you have a guy that's been around, if it's a fishing guide or a hunting guy that's been around 30 years successfully outfitting, that's something to pay attention to. His prices may be more expensive, or you've got somebody, like Blake, you've been at it a few years, but your heart's in it and you have the heart of a teacher. I mean, that's another thing to look for big time.
Absolutely. 100%. And I know what you're saying. I can't stand when I get around folks that are trying to upsell. I've been out there and I've had folks at a certain ranch trying to upsell my clients, and I'm out there and I tell them, I said, I'm gonna tell you something right now. You need to just go ahead and stop talking to them.
Yeah,
that's as nice as I can put it.
Yeah,
because I'm not here trying to upsell these people and I'm here. They know what they want for. That's another thing. People know what they. Not know what they want for, but people know what they came for.
Sure.
And it's up to me to, number one, keep them from shooting something too big or too small. Get what they came for in that criteria, and educate them along the way. Right. If they want another animal or see another animal that they want to take, well, by all means. And they ask me if they can take it. Absolutely. Sure. But it's not, it's like you said, it's not up to me to sell it. The animals sell themselves. That's right. It's up to me to steer them and to do exactly what my title is.
To guide. Right, exactly. That's what I was just going to say. And I mean, we recently had a high fence ranch that was doing MLD permits, and this is affiliated with one of the ranches that I work with. And basically, they needed to kill 15 does. They were going to sell them, and I think it was something like $250 a piece, which is pretty cheap for a doe hunting a high fence. I think so. Don't you think so, Blake?
I think so.
$250? That's pretty good. But anyway, so I was down for one of them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I definitely think so.
Yeah. So I was down for one of them at least, for that cost. They needed to basically take the brain stems and for CWD testing and that kind of stuff. And I touched on this briefly in the last show. The guy was like, you can only shoot does, but all everybody saw that hunted before me was bucks. And then he said, well, I'll shoot them for you if you pay $250 and I'll bring them to you field dressed. And I'm like, sir, that's not a hunt. So one of the guides for this outfit I worked for finally wrote the guy back, look, we've seen nothing but bucks. All of our guys that have hunted out there have seen nothing but bucks. And, killing us and killing those does and bringing them to us is not a hunt. No thanks, go buzz off. And the guy never, but I see that guy on Texas Hunting Forum and places like that all the time advertising how good his whitetail were. And I'm like, man, what a crappy guide. I mean, that's not really doing your job. Even if it's selling to a neighboring ranch like we were. That's a heart of a salesman, man. He's just trying to get his deal done and have you pay for it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. And I would, I don't do that. I don't know, man. Everybody, like you said, to each his own.
Sure. Sure.
I have had, I've had experiences when I first started guiding where, here's another thing, that people come out and they're like, we're just going to stay back here at camp if you'll go out and shoot them for us. And I was like,
really? I've heard that kind of stuff before. I've just never really heard it from somebody like you. That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I got heaps of stories I can tell. But,
I'm sure.
And I was like, I thought they were joking.
Yeah.
And I was like, serious? And I was like, yeah, we're just going to stay back here and drink, watch football. And I was like, no. I'm gonna go out here and then then the ranch owner comes out because that's before I started my outfit. Then the ranch owner comes out, yeah, go take their animals. I was like, wow, okay,
That's not
you know,
hunting.
and I
You know.
nope. I mean, why even bother?
Yeah.
But anyway, no, I do not agree with that technique or tactic. If somebody wants to come out and hunt, by all means, let them hunt, let them take their game. But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna do that.
Well, it's a know when to fold them and know when to show them, kind of thing. When you don't see any does and you've got to kill 15 of them, go do it your darn self. Don't say, well, you pay for it, I'll do it for you, and I'll go track them down. And I'm like, that's not a hunting experience. That's not even an outdoor lifestyle experience. That's a harvest experience, I guess, if you want to call it that. That's a meat haul, And a lot of
Yep.
people may be in whitetail for that. That's not me. I want the experience. That's what I talk about on every show just about. It's about the experience. It's not about the size of the antlers. You can't eat the antlers anyway.
Nope.
I've tried to grind them up. I've tried to boil them. I mean, it doesn't matter. I can't eat those antlers. I don't know why, but or those horns. But anyway, there's my soapbox. I'll get off my rant.
No, you're good, man. Rants lead to more rants.
Yeah, they're good discussions. It's healthy discussions, at least, right?
Absolutely. And and you're right. I have people call me up. I was on the phone with a guy yesterday. He was booking a hunt for he and his wife, and just inquiring about this, that, and the other. And he was like, "Well, what about?" He asked me my prices on my axis, and he was like, "What about management? This, that, and that." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, as far as, because he was asking, what would be a good one for her and stuff like that. And I said, "Man, I got stuff on my wall that I know a lot of guys wouldn't mount, but guess what? To me, in my eyes, at that time, it was and still is a trophy. So the trophy is indicative of what you feel and what you think.
It's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I knew the eye and the beholder thing. I was just hitting on a couple of things that you were hitting on it, and I'm looking at a deer right now to my left, literally staring at him. He is he's not huge. He's about 125-inch 8-point, but it was the first buck that I took on my grandmother's land that, first good buck. And he's shoulder mounted, he's not
sure.
Euros. And people, even the taxidermist said, "Man, you might want to wait for a big one." I said, "Nope." I said, "This is my first good deer off of my grandmother's place." He was a mature deer. That's another thing. Young buck. This is in Georgia.
Yeah.
He was a mature deer, and guess what? He's like, "Oh, okay." And then he saw it, because he just didn't want. He was him being an honest taxidermist. He didn't want me to spend a whole heap of money on something that he's like, "You'll get a big one." I said, "It ain't about that." And I told him, "Oh, okay, I get it." So yeah, trophy. People, we have to sell it as trophy management because there's certain criteria.
Correct.
There's a lot of management deer. I took several management deer with clients this year that I know are going on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Because they're good deer. My fiance, let's take her for instance. She went out. She took her first deer with me this year. So proud of her. First time she ever shot a deer. She shot a really nice West Texas 9-point with me, and heart shot him. I've never been so happy in my life.
Oh, that's great. You got to be proud of her. That's awesome.
Yeah, and is he the biggest deer in the world? Oh, is he going on the wall? You daggum right.
Yep.
And it's a great memory. We got video of it. We putting pictures up underneath it.
It's her first, man. I mean, that's a rite of passage in a lot of ways in a lot of hunters' life. I mean, I just posted an article that Brian Johnson wrote on LoneStarBowhunter.com, their blog, and he was talking about the different stages of hunting, how we have 5 stages that he perceives we go through. And, the last stage, he said, is the stage that I think, you and I are in to some degree, where we don't even have to take a gun out to the field. We just want to go and enjoy the outdoors and see other people, get their first or get their best or whatever the case may be. It's not all about trophies and antlers and stuff like that. And that's the message I like to convey on this show.
Absolutely not. You are absolutely right. And that's actually, as an outfitter, if I was doing it for the sales, I disagree with you. but I'm not. I agree with you. I want people to have a good time,
Yeah.
have a great experience, take a good animal, and come back. And if they, and if you're pushing for the biggest and the most inches and biggest weight and all that kind of stuff all the time, well, that's great. More power to you. I don't think that'll last.
Well, and for every 200 incher, not to cut you off, but every 200 incher, there's going to be somebody that shoots a 300 incher. There's always going to be somebody else that has a bigger and a baddest.
That it's gotten too much into that.
Yeah.
Growing up, my daddy and all them, we shot whether it was a spike or a 12-point. Daggum, good job, son. Good deer. Now let's get to work and clean him and let's process him.
The work begins after that trigger pull, baby.
Right. And now it's, well, what camo were you using? Well, what release do you use? Well, what not that good gear is not good.
Sure.
That's all great, but it's become about that. It's all about the gear horse, for lack of a better term.
I've heard that used before. I just never heard that on the show before. That's good. I like that.
People ask me, what kind of camo do you use? I wear blue jeans a lot, to be honest with you.
Sure.
But I've got everything from Realtree to Mossy Oak to Broadside to Sitka and everything in between. And I wear what is closest to my hands at the time to grab and put on. And
does it really, really seriously matter? I mean, the pattern that you wear on a certain day for that big buck. I mean, to some degree it might, but everything I've read, everything I've studied, and everything I've experienced in the outdoors shows otherwise.
Biggest buck I ever killed in my life, I shot at 13 yards, November 23rd, 2014. I was in brown Carhartt overalls, Bills. 13 feet up a tree, 13 yards.
That was a 150 you killed in Georgia, right?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, come on. That's...
Sure.
It don't. My cousin Richard, my daddy, and them. My daddy always wore brown Carhartt zip-ups. My cousin Richard wears blue jeans, orange jacket, an orange hat, and a harness, climbing harness.
Mm-hmm.
Because that sun gun kills big deer every year.
Yeah.
But it matters about your knowledge on everything. Like I said, not the good gear and important, but it's become too much about what did you use. These products ain't gonna make you kill a bigger animal, a bigger deer, bigger this, that, and the other. Will it give you a competitive edge? Nice gear, yeah. I like good knives. I like good gear. I like stuff that's gonna last. But there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I can't agree with you more. And that's the thing is the hunting industry is marketed to so much through TV, through podcasts, through social media, through all the ways that we consume the outdoor lifestyle. It's very much so that everything is geared towards selling more stuff. And I've got enough stuff. I don't know about you, Blake, but I've got enough stuff.
Man, I've got 4 closets full of stuff because I used to think this, that, and the other was going to get me this, that, and the other. Now I use the most simple stuff when I go out now.
And nothing against any of the sponsors I've had on the show or anything like that. I still think, I represent some of the best products out there when it comes to stuff. But, I mean, I know you don't either. But, I mean, that's just my point, I guess.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything against anybody producing great products either. I rely on great products, but a lot of people produce great products.
Right.
That's the point I'm making. It doesn't, I don't know. We have made it, like you said earlier in the show, leave it up to the hunters and it'll basically self-implode.
Right.
In general, I don't know. I think we need to support each other more about just the game and the hunt and the experience in and of itself. If somebody gets a good deer, or if it's small in your eyes and your stature, don't bash the guy.
Sure.
Educate them. Heck, I tell you what, I saw, and even if it's on the other end of the spectrum, if somebody's asking for something, there was a post I saw the other day on Facebook, a guy asking for a 40-inch by 40-inch axis.
Woo!
Okay,
Those don't just grow on trees around here, you know.
let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah.
I said one comment. And all I said was I concur to somebody that said, who I know, that I know this guy. He said, I don't think you know a whole lot about axes. He wasn't trying to be a jerk. He was just saying, you might want to educate yourself a little bit more, because there was a bunch of guys jumping on there said, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Oh, really? Okay. Well, my taxidermist has been in business for 32 years. And the biggest one that he has mounted was this past year, and he was 38 by 38, 38 and a half by 38.
Right. Just on each one, right.
Yes.
Each animal,
and
yeah.
And somebody got on there, bashing me. Why would you bash this guy for asking a sincere question? All I said was I concur, period. I said, first of all, I didn't bash anybody. I said, when I first started guiding and I first started outfitting, I was asking the same questions, and it was up to somebody else who told me the truth about how it really is, what you can really expect and what you can be realistic about. And instead of saying, oh, yeah, I can do that. And I left it with this. When you get your 40 by 40, let me see him.
Yeah.
And
that's good, Blake. That's real good.
Am I saying they don't exist? Absolutely not. There's everything. There could be a 50 by 50. Let's go out there. But guess what? I haven't seen him.
I haven't either.
I haven't seen him. And when you get him in your hands, put the tape on him and let me see him. Until then, please keep your mouth shut.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. And that's the thing. I mean, you and I both work in live sale. I just sold a group of axis and a black buck to a guy down in deep South Texas, down by Falcon Lake, and he was bringing them into a high fence for somebody to come and some of his African clients to come overseas and shoot. And so we just delivered them recently and everything, and he was really happy with it. But we had a 26 and 2 30s axis deer, and then we had about an 18-inch black buck, and he said, man, that's perfect. He said, that's a good representation of the species. That's a good trophy animal. And the 26 will probably go to the kids. They're going to come shoot. And, the does will go to the kids. But the guys were happy with a good representation of the animal. And it's not always about the biggest and the baddest. I know I say that a lot on the show and people get tired of hearing it. But, I mean, hunting's got to be more than that. It really does.
Absolutely. No, it most certainly does. And, I don't know, Dustin. I just think that bottom line, we need to be more supportive of each other. Yeah. And part of now, just like in my family, if I was to shoot a deer that was immature, they didn't bash me. They would tell me, they were like, you might want to let him grow a little bit, and this is why. And at that point in time, I was still learning. Like I said, is it going to happen? Yes, it is. That's the facts of life, and that's the actuality of what we do.
Sure.
But the thing is, we've got to educate each other. And had I been more educated prior to going out, I might have not made the same decision.
It up. Yeah, right. No, that makes sense.
Right.
So, I mean, talk more about the hiring an exotic for hiring a guide for an exotic hunt, I should say. There's lots of high fence ranges all around Texas. There's some low fence ones. I know of a couple of outfitters in West Texas that go after aoudad free range, and that's a heck of a hard hunt. I think it's probably one of the hardest hunts in Texas. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I've got free range aoudad, and it's any given day to do it. Some guys do it one time and it was easy for them because they came into a feeder and they're like, oh, there's nothing to it. But to do it consecutively,
right?
You're
hiking mountains, you're climbing, you're running through brush, that kind of stuff. Is that right?
Yes. It's no walk in the park.
Right.
You're up and down hills. You could basically chalk it up to going after a big bull.
Yeah, like an elk. Yeah, exactly.
In the Rockies is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the thing that I bring up a lot of times when I talk about exotics is, Texas, and I've said this before, but Texas is in the golden age. of exotics. I mean, we've got more than just about any other state in the nation, more than just about any other area in the world as far as our containment of exotics in our free ranging population. But that all being said, you don't have to have a license, you don't have to draw a tag, you don't have to have any kind of special deals at all from the state of Texas to hunt an elk, a buffalo, a bison, an axis, a fallow, a sika deer, black buck. Any of that stuff is fair game year round, and that's the thing a lot of people don't understand is that how do we get away with that? Well, because we're Texas, I guess. I've got a couple of folks that listen outside of the state, and they're like, man, I need to come there, because this is really cool. So anyway.
Absolutely. No, I freaking love Texas in general. Let me just say one more time, I love Texas. And I love it even that much more. After I got here, I was headed up to Montana, to the Montana School for Guides.
I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah. I wound up turning my truck back around. My mom got cancer.
That's
Long
right.
story.
I remember
but
that
I turned and came here. Well, I quickly learned how awesome Texas was in the fact that you absolutely can hunt year-round. You also have extended whitetail seasons because of MLD.
Right. Into February in most cases. Yep.
That's yes.
Right.
To February 28th, 29th in most cases. But that being said, exotics are awesome, very simply put, because we can hunt them year round from January to January.
Yep, that's right.
And it's now don't let that confuse anybody listening. A lot of people. I had a lot of people call me for axis late year, and I know I'm going to ruffle feathers with this. Do they exist? Absolutely. There's herds that have good axis, good hardhorn axis in late season, but that's about 15%.
So late season, you mean like December, like this time of year, right? December, early January. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And the best time to come for axis is going to be, it's going to be hot, very simply put. It's going to be late spring to summer because they rut May, June.
Right.
It's are there axis? There's axis drop their horns, and start regrowing around their birthday.
Right.
And it depends on when when the gestation cycle of their mother was.
I was just going to bring that up. Their horns grow and fall depending on their birthday. And finding axis this time of year, like you said, the bottom 15% will have horns, but most of them will have already dropped and are regrowing this time of year.
Exactly.
And that's why I had trouble filling that last order I was bringing down to South Texas, because we could only find one with horns. In the last minute, we were finding fallow, and the fallow were too muddy to get back there, so we found two other on the fly, 26 and a 30, that still had horns. I mean, now, whether or not they drop their horns the minute they hit the ground or their live sale capture release site, I don't know, but, we got them delivered at least. So...
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I know how that goes, too.
Anyway.
That's a whole nother topic.
That is, I know. I'm not trying to go off in that tangent. I just thought that was funny.
We've got lots of stuff that we can cover and talk about, Dustin. We've got many more shows ahead.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure. But, I think that people need to be aware of, of the hunting opportunities that are here and why we do what we do, and the fact that it is awesome. And
yes.
I know we've hit on it before. I'm not sure if you and I hit on it in just conversation or on the last show, but I will say it again. If it was not for the Texas rancher, if it was not for the hunter, and if it was not for the middleman of being an outfitter and guide, the populations of the animals that we hunt would cease to exist.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because of the efforts from us, from men and women like us, from you, from the hunter, from the rancher, we have made it to where once almost extinct, on the brink of extinction, animals that were on the brink of being poached out completely,
yes,
are now not only surviving, they are thriving.
Right. They're in great numbers, and you can thank hunters for that. I was just going to say that again because that is one of the biggest things that a lot of people that are antis, and it's hard to those convinced against their will or have the same opinions. Still, I get that, but people that are on the fence need to know. And my stepdad was one of the people that I finally convinced the other day that hunting is a viable way for sustaining life of those herds of oryx and Gemsbok and Damagazelle and all the different other exotics that are out there that were at once put on kind of endangered list in Texas.
Right.
Hunting is what has saved that species, and there are more of them here than there are in Africa, India, Asia, whatever, Europe, whatever. Yep.
And I don't know. I think that's one of the main things before you speak, and that's on anything. If I don't know something, if I don't know about something, or if I'm not really up to speed on something, I don't talk.
Sure.
I don't talk about it. I just listen, and then I make my, I'll go back to what I said just a little while ago. I think more people need to be supportive. More hunters, I should say, need to be supportive of other hunters.
Sure.
And if somebody is flat out wrong, that person doesn't need to be bashed. They need to be educated.
Yes. That is a very good statement, Blake. That's a very good statement.
It makes me sick, Dustin.
Sure.
I see it all the time.
I see it too.
Like, you know what? I'm not even going to get on here for a while because I'm going to wind up saying something and getting into it with somebody, another expert, and it's not going to be pretty. And that just makes, at the end of the day, it just makes me look dumb and trashy.
Sure. No, I understand that. I mean, and that's the thing with all this that I kind of bring home to it is that, if you're in it for meat, go hunt a hog. We got plenty of those. If you're in it for trophy, don't always be after the 40-inch axis that may not even exist out there. It exists in small numbers. Go for a 30 that's a good representation of the animal. It's and can't we all get along? That's the last thing I wanted to say. So
it's as cheesy as that sounds.
It's been overused, I know. So
excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. As cheesy as that sounds, it's a daggum fact, man. It's like, oh my Lord. Why don't we spend most of our energies trying to help each other and building each other up instead of tearing each other down? I don't know. It just becomes about an ego thing, I guess.
Well, you and I are on social media where a lot of this stuff exists. You post a lot, and so do I, for the podcast and for the ranches I work with and the hunts that I sell and that kind of stuff. But, there's a lot of misinformation going on out there. And I think a show like this helps with the educational part of this and also the essence of what the outdoor lifestyle contains. And that is not necessarily to shoot the biggest and the best. It's about the experience, and it's about enjoying each other's company. It's about communing with God or whatever your belief system is. I know you and I are both Christian guys and really, really take that home. But, there's just so much out there to explore, and for us to argue about it is just sad,
I would have to agree. I'd have to agree wholeheartedly. But a lot of people disagree with me. That's okay.
Yeah.
Same
here.
They will continue to disagree with me, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here for them to get to disagree with.
Right.
Then what would they have to talk about?
Well, you and I are both kind of shining lights, I think, on, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn or anything, but I mean, we at least believe in the future of this sport and at least keeping it young, keeping it in conservation, keeping it in the quality of a hunt, and getting kids involved in the outdoors, which I know you're huge about. I've seen a lot of the posts you do on Facebook.
I'm taking a mother and her son out today, this evening. Put him on his first deer. They think it's gonna be a doe, but I'm gonna let him shoot a buck and pay the ranch for it.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. Merry Christmas. Yeah, that's great.
I know how it is. I grew up in the same type household, single mom, and our dad not being there, for a while, and then dad, for lack of a better, reason, he might be overseas or whatever. Mom basically a mom trying to support her family on her own dime.
Right.
if it wasn't for a lot of good men there growing up, or a few good men there growing up where I was, I would not have gotten to get into the outdoors, which is extremely important to me, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten to go. So, when she reached out, she actually reached out on Facebook. So there's a lot of people watching.
Yes.
There's a lot of people.
Always. That's a very good point, Blake. That's a very good point.
Even if they're not saying something, they're watching.
They're watching.
And if that's the example that somebody wants to put out there, the bashing and the hating and the name calling and all that stuff, and that's what people see.
It's true.
And I'm not going to partake.
Yeah.
I'm not going to partake in that. And feel free if you want to, but that's not me.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I love to get kids in the outdoors. I love to get first time hunters in the outdoors. I love to get women in the outdoors. I mean, they are, to be honest with you guys, let's be honest. I've heard this time and time again. We all know that women can outshoot men.
Oh, absolutely.
Hands down.
It's a proven fact.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, it's true.
A feather ruffling show, let me tell you.
That's right. We're ruffling all kinds of feathers, but no, that's very true in a lot of cases. That's true. So, well, anyway, we're about at the end of our hour here. I just wanted to give you a chance. How do people find you? Can they message you on Facebook, website, phone number, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook at King of Eights Outfitters LLC is my Facebook page. I'm also got a personal page. I'm up to about 5,000 friends on any given day, and then back down again depending on who I piss off that day. And then
just depends on the day, huh, Blake?
Depends on the day, what I say. Sometimes it's about my Christian beliefs, and sometimes it's about my hunting beliefs, and sometimes because I'm breathing air.
Yeah, but yeah. Just cause, Blake. Just cause, yeah.
Yeah, but you can also find me at my website. It's www.kingofeights.com, or just simply put kingofeights.com. And my cell is 210, when I'm talking on now, 210-740-6411. Or you can email me at huntingwithmarshall@gmail.com. Again, that's hunting with Marshall, and it's my last name, MARSHALL
Both your first name and last name are spelled normally, so people don't have to figure that out, So, yeah, you just Google Blake Marshall and King of Eights. And King of Eights is spelled out. Eights is spelled out, so don't write 8S, instead. Wanted to bring that up, too. And yes, folks, I built a lot of websites. I built this guy's website, too, so there you go. But, no, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I always enjoy these things because, you and I always talk about spirited stuff, and that's what I love the most about doing this show. And it's a blessing to me to deliver this out to the Texas Outdoor Nation, because it gives me an outlet for my hunting emotions, I guess is the best way to say it without better terms. This is cathartic for me, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, same here. I like to, there's a lot of stuff I think that I don't say.
Right.
There's a lot of things I think that I will never say, but that's just part. But sometimes I just need to, you need to get it out there.
Yeah.
Because there's people that are thinking the same thing that don't think they have support, when in all actuality they do.
Yeah. And I think the things that we brought up in this show, Blake, need to be addressed. They need to be talked about, to some regard, because not enough people are carrying that flag and waving it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're just kind of staying quiet because the overwhelming majority, let's say, is about a certain issue, or about only horns or horn length or size, or, size is the only thing that matters. And, we need another voice out there, and that's what I try to do this show for.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm pleased and honored that you would, have me on the show, number one, and number two. I'm very thankful that there are people out there like you, specifically you, doing what you do to educate. I know you're doing it for the right reasons. You have a family, which is in and of itself a blessing, but at the same time, you have a lot of obligations to them, but you still take time to do certain things. You make the time to do certain things, such as this podcast, and I hope that it reaches every bent ear that is interested, in all honesty. But I hope that it reaches somebody and at least hits home with at least one person, and then our job is done.
Right. I agree. No.
I call it
a success. Yeah. No, I agree. And thank you for those kind words, Blake. That means a lot. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I mean it, bro.
And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Blake Marshall from King of Eights Outfitters. Awesome guy. I've got a website for him, and I'll put all that in his contact information in the show notes as well. So all the picture of him, which I try to do with every guest that we have, so you can kind of see what they look like over the podcast, and you can check them out on social media and so on and so forth. So if you've not done so yet, please subscribe to the newsletters. They are free. Texas Fish and Game puts out Practical and Tactical Tuesday, Wildlife Wednesday, and the Thursday Texas State of the Outdoor Nation. Those are all free. It's like getting a mini magazine 3 days a week, and there's tons of stories that relate back to our blog at fishgame.com that you can read. Really great stuff. So we're getting those out a week in advance now. So I kind of get to preview the stories as one of the proofers of the newsletter. So that's kind of cool to be able to do that. And hope you guys are having a great deer season. If you are done, I hope you had a good deer season, and I hope you guys will consider hunting exotics year round for what we do in the outdoors, because it's a great way to fill the freezer in the off seasons. But anyway, thank you guys again so much for watching, reading, and listening. Have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.